This is the Strong is a Mindset podcast, episode number 104. If you have no idea how to start changing your life, start with this. This is the Strong is a Mindset podcast, where you'll learn how to build both a strong body and a strong mind by eating, moving, and thinking. I'm your host, physician, personal trainer, certified health coach, and certified life coach, Carrie Holland. Hey, how are you? What's new? What's good? So, what's good here? Today, we're going back to basics, and I'm going to share with you one of the most essential concepts you can take and start putting into practice this very second to start changing your life. So I'm excited to talk about this because I've been meeting with a lot of women lately, and I've been doing a number of consultations with women who in one way or another have convinced themselves that changing their lives has to be hard, or that losing weight or starting an exercise routine or getting to bed earlier or getting more sleep is going to be an uphill battle. And I want to bust that myth here from the outset. And here's something to start telling yourself right here, right now. And more importantly, this is what I want you to practice believing. This does not have to be hard. This does not have to be an uphill battle. Your change does not have to be hard in order to count, okay? Really, changing your life can be as hard as you want to make it. And I've seen some of you make it really hard on yourselves. But let me offer you this. What if it could be easy? What if you could let it be easy? What if changing your habits and creating a lifestyle that gives you the body and the physique and the health that you want, what if that didn't have to be so incredibly hard? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying this is going to be a cakewalk, okay? Changing your habits takes legit work. It takes practice, consistency, patience, and that all takes work. But what if that was okay? What if you decided that you're going to be okay with that work and you're going to feel the resistance that comes up at lunchtime when your coworkers are eating pizza and crumble cookies and you're headed to the fridge to grab your salad and protein? What if you could decide that you're going to allow it to feel a little icky and stick to your plan anyway? So I think of change, like true, legit lifestyle change, in two pieces. There's action, the action of eating your salad and protein over the pizza and cookies. That part, really at the heart of it, should not be super complicated. That action is a matter of deciding ahead of time. I'm going to have salad and chicken for lunch today because that's what I've decided. That's what I've determined is going to get me closer to my goals. That's what I've planned out. It's what I packed in my work bag, and that's it. And you eat the salad and the chicken. There's your action. That's the end of it. But then there's the thinking and feeling piece. And that is where it gets tricky. That's where it can get challenging. When you really, really think about it, eating a salad and chicken is just not a big deal, right? It's a bowl full of lettuce and veggies and some protein, right? It's a salad. And you eat it one forkful at a time, and you call it lunch. And most of us know that the salad and chicken will help you more than pizza and cookies if your goal is to lose weight. But where it gets hard is in your brain. Because even though you know what to do, you're smart, you have plenty of resources available to you, you have Google and the internet and news and all kinds of information to guide you. So knowledge, that is not the problem. The problem, and where it gets hard, is following through and doing what you said you were going to do. That's when it gets messy. That is when your brain can go totally haywire and throw up all kinds of resistance about how you will spontaneously combust if you don't have the pizza, or how crumble cookies are the absolute best and there is no way you can pass them up. Or you'll use one of those cookie splitter things that the crumble stores conveniently sell so that you only have a quarter of the cookie because you earned it and everyone else is eating them, so of course you're going to have one too. It's that part that gets challenging. And I would argue that it gets challenging in large part because your brain takes something small, like a piece of pizza or a cookie, and blows it up into this big, hairy, messy deal. Your brain makes you think that the world is going to stop spinning if you don't have the pizza. Your brain creates an urgency that causes everything in front of you to speed up. And if you don't have the food, you're going to feel deprived and it's going to be uncomfortable. And this one time is not going to matter. So hurry up and have the cookie already, right? It's that cascade, which happens in about 5 seconds or less, that causes you to feel like this is hard. So here's what I want to do today. I want to take something that at the outset seems really challenging and make it less so. I'm going to explain to you how to make changing your life, creating a different lifestyle, whether that includes losing weight or if you just want to stop feeling like a prisoner to foods like crumble cookies. I'm going to explain how you do this. So honestly, this is the simplest, fastest, easiest way to start changing your life, okay? This is it. There is no app required. There is no calorie counting needed. There is no food scale. Really, there is nothing you need other than the decision to commit and go all in. And then you get started, Okay. So I'm excited to break this down for you. And just really quick before I get to that, a reminder, if you haven't yet, and if you need summer reading ideas, download my list of favorite books. I created a list of books that are my all-time favorites. Many of them I refer to on this podcast, and now I've got them all in one place. So there's two collections. One is a collection of books on work-life balance, and the other is a collection of my top most transformative reads. So those are the books that I would recommend to any human being who wants to have their mind blown open to new concepts and new ways of thinking. Okay. So check those books out. Head to www.carriehollandmd.com/books and download that list. And there are many more lists coming. I have at least 8 already that are put together, and I will keep releasing them and telling you about them here on the podcast. But get started with these and see what you think. Okay. So that's carriehollandmd.com/books, and you can start reading. All right. So let's get to it. We've already talked a little bit about how changing your life does not have to be hard, and that often the reason it gets hard is because your brain makes it bigger than it has to be. So let's take something that may seem big and insurmountable, like changing your life, and make it more attainable. So here it is. I get asked this all the time, and I want to spell it out loud and clear for you. How do you actually change your life? What is the first step? So here it is. You find the smallest change you can make that will get you closer to where you want to be, and you do that over and over again. Okay? Really. That is the secret to changing your life. And it's not even really a secret. This is not wild. It's not complicated. This is not something you need to buy a self-help book in order to do. It's really simple. Find a behavior or a habit that you can do over and over and over. Find the smallest change that you can absolutely live with and do that. As in most every single day, like every day. So let's break this apart a little bit, because while I just said it sounds simple, I want to prove it to you. I want to show you that you can make this simple with some real examples from my own life and from my clients' lives too. So first, find the behavior, find the habit or the behavior that you can see yourself doing today. And I say today because I want you to get started now. So that's just it. So many of you put off taking better care of yourselves, or you put off changing the way you eat, or you put off starting any sort of exercise. And many of you do that because you think it has to be big, it has to be bold, it has to be drastic, it has to be complicated in order to move the needle. No, that's not it. So go with me on this and consider what I'm offering to you. Find the behavior that is fairly small and simple that you can do today, because I don't want you offering excuses like, I'll wait until summer is over, or after the kids are done with swim season, or once I get done with this big work project, or once I get back from our big beach vacation. No, I want you to find the smallest behavior that you can do today, even during the pace of summer break, even when you're on vacation, even while work is crazy. And here's why. We need the behavior to be something you can do most every day, okay? Like most every day, no matter what is going on in your life. Because it's those habits and those behaviors that you can do every day, even when life is crazy, those are your keepers. Okay. Do you see that? The smallest things you can do and hang on to and keep as habits, even when it seems like all hell is breaking loose in your life, those are the habits that are going to carry you and help you actually change your lifestyle. Okay. So let me give you some examples of this from some of my clients. So for some of my weight loss clients, many of them have identified that eating out is a major contributor to their weight. So I can think of handfuls of clients who, for them, if they go to a restaurant, it's all bets are off and they would eat whatever, whenever, and clean their plates. And you know this already, but many of the meals that you get when you eat out tend to be more calorically dense than what you would get at home. So if this is you, here are a few things that have helped my clients. Here are some of the smallest habits they've implemented to help them address eating out. So one, I can think of one client in particular who started simply zoning in on a few restaurants near her home that she went to with her family. Most of these were chain restaurants, and she went to their websites, pulled up the menu, and looked at what was on the menu. And she decided in advance that if I go to this restaurant, these are the things I will choose from. And that was it. She looked at the menu and decided in advance what meals she would have when she went to those restaurants. So I have another client who also went out to dinner frequently. And when she went out, she tended to order a little bit of everything. And she decided, well, if I'm out, I'll just get whatever, and I'm going all out. So she'd get the margarita and the chips and salsa and the jalapeno poppers and the fried ice cream. And that was in addition to her main dish. And if you think about it, think about what that all adds up to. Between the drink, the chips, the appetizer, and dessert, you've eaten the equivalent of a second dinner in addition to your actual dinner. So we talked through this, and this client decided, all right, if I go out, I will decide to get one of those 4 extras. I'll decide on either a drink, the bread basket or chip basket, an appetizer, or a dessert, but not all 4 of them. And then she practiced it. Every time she went out, she came back to that and decided ahead of time. All right, I know this place has a really awesome chocolate lava cake, so I'm going to have that. But it means I'm going to pass on the martini and the bread and the stuffed mushrooms, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this chocolate cake, and that's that. And I have another client who just decided that instead of French fries, she would order a side salad. So she and her husband went out quite a bit, and they would often end up at burger places. And she would have the burger, but instead of fries, she would order a side salad. So notice something about each of these. Each and every one of these clients did not stop going out to eat. They did not give up eating out altogether. Some of my clients have cut down on the amount of times that they eat out in a week, but none of them have given it up altogether. And that's exactly it. I'm not encouraging you to give up going out if you enjoy it. I want to make that super clear. But at the same time, I want to point out that eating out can be tricky if you're trying to lose weight, simply because you have less control over what's going on your plate. Restaurant meals tend to be much heavier on salt, fat, and oil. But it doesn't mean you need to stop eating out at those restaurants if you enjoy it. So each one of these changes is super small. Looking ahead at the menu, choosing 1 additional item instead of 4 to go along with your main dish, getting a salad instead of fries. None of these behaviors are huge or drastic, right? And you could implement any one of these behaviors today. If you're going to dinner tonight, you can absolutely do any one of these things today, and you can repeat it. So those are just a few examples of things my clients have done to address eating out. So what about eating at home? So I had another client who had never in her life thought she would eat a salad with dinner. That was just not how she grew up. It was always meat and potatoes, and salad was considered the 5 shards of iceberg lettuce with red onions and tomatoes that you get at the Italian restaurant. But then we talked about it, and I helped her with some salad ideas and showed her that salad can be way more than iceberg lettuce. And then she decided, I will make myself a big salad to go with my dinner. And then she did it. She didn't buy all the stuff. She bought bagged salad mixes. And she bought enough to get her through a couple of days. And then she went to the grocery store midweek and bought a few more to get her through the rest of the week. That was it. And she started having a salad every day with dinner. So I had another client who never really considered protein. It just wasn't something on her radar. She ate many of her meals at home, but it was a random hodgepodge of stuff. Sometimes it was cereal. Other times it was a bowl of pasta, nothing more. Other times it was frozen French fries and frozen pizza. So then when we started working together, she chose 1 protein that she would make at the beginning of the week, and she would have that for as many days as it would last her. So sometimes it would be a baking pan full of chicken breasts. Other weeks she made an egg bake and she would have breakfast for dinner. And other times she'd get a package of ground turkey and make it into turkey burgers. And that was it. Bagged salads, a batch of protein at the beginning of the week. This is not wild here. And again, in each of these cases, my client chose something that she felt confident that she could live with and make her new normal, something she could do most every day. And each of these examples was small, but totally accessible and totally doable for these clients. Okay, so now let's switch gears and talk for a minute about exercise. So I have a number of clients I've worked with wanting to establish a regular habit of exercise. And I've got some examples of small changes that add up to big impact. So one woman in particular, she had a long history of exercise before career and kids and family. And now she had super long days and tended to have totally erratic hours and came home at all kinds of odd times. So for her, she knew it was the morning when she needed to get her exercise done. So she started setting her alarm 15 minutes earlier than usual. That's it, 15 minutes. And she went downstairs in her basement and either lifted weights, she did the workouts I posted on YouTube, or she would ride her Peloton. Just 15 minutes. And she made a commitment to do that every day. And she kept going. And now she gets up every morning and gets her workouts done before anything else in her day, before she has to deal with her kids, before she goes to work, and it works for her. And it started by setting her alarm 15 minutes earlier in the morning. And I had another client who also had a hard time getting started with exercise. She was not into morning exercise. That was just not her thing. So she started walking while she was at her kid's sports practice. She started in the spring and walked around the track while her kid played lacrosse. In the winter, she brought her boots and walked around the school parking lots while her kid played basketball. And she just decided that while her kid was at practice, she would move her body. Some days it was 10 minutes if it was freezing and nasty and snowing. Other days she did more if the weather was better. But she made it easy. She made a habit recipe. When my kid has sports practice, I will move my body. And she stuck to it. So I share all of these examples because there's something they all have in common. They're small. 15 minutes on the bike, 10-minute walk, or a restaurant meal you've decided in advance, or a dessert alone instead of drinks, appetizers, and the whole 9 yards. Each one of these behaviors is small, like super small. But in each and every one of these examples, the client made the commitment and got really, really good at it. Each one of these women thought about it and made these changes something they could live with, not just today or for the next 4 weeks, but for life. And that is exactly what I'm encouraging you to do. And then once you find the behavior that you want to do, the next piece to this is to ask yourself the super important question. Is this something I can do regularly, like every day? Can I actually see myself doing this every day? Or if you want to look at it another way, I like asking this question too. Can you see yourself doing this 6 months from now, or a year from now, or how about 2 years from now? And I would simply encourage you to ask the question and be super, super honest with yourself. If you cannot answer yes, and if you don't see yourself doing the behavior a few months from now or a year from now, you've got your answer. Don't commit to something that you cannot sustain. This is not about white knuckling it through dinners that don't taste good or doing HIIT workouts when you absolutely hate HIIT. Because here's a key takeaway. If you're going to go to all the trouble of changing your life, how about you enjoy it? Okay? Really let that sink in for a minute. How about you enjoy it? So what this means is that not only are you looking for behaviors that you can put on repeat, you're also looking for behaviors that you actually like. I think that often gets overlooked, but I think it's super important. If you're forcing yourself to eat salads and you hate them, that's not going to work. So maybe instead you find a different veggie to work into your meals instead of salad. Or if you think you have to start drinking protein shakes every day in order to get in enough protein, but you hate protein powder, then we need to find something else. And I know, as I'm saying this out loud, it seems fairly obvious. Of course, you should do things that you enjoy, right? But part of the reason I bring this up and am mentioning this explicitly is because some of you think it has to be hard. It has to be miserable. And I point my finger at diet culture and what we have been brought up believing about what it means to lose weight or eat healthy for this. We've been sold into believing that it has to be hard. We've been given red, yellow, and green food lists. We have been told that certain things are off limits and are to be avoided at all costs. We've been told no pain, no gain. There's a challenge called 75 hard, okay? It's pervasive. We are brought up and socialized in a culture that has made us believe that changing our lifestyle and losing weight has to be hard or it doesn't count. But I'm going to argue that just doesn't work. Humans don't like hard. We don't like to be miserable. So a plan to change your life that doesn't include foods you enjoy or an exercise plan that sounds more like torture than fun to you, that's just not going to work, okay? So please, when you are considering the smallest thing that you can do to change your life, yes, you want to find something that you can do over and over again, but you also want to make sure that you enjoy it too, that you like what you're doing. So I've used myself as an example about this multiple times. I'll do it again here. So I have been eating the same lunch every day for at least 4 or more years, and I look forward to it. It's egg whites, broccoli, and 2 pieces of toast. One with peanut butter, one with butter. Every day. So sometimes I put sriracha on my broccoli, other times it's salsa. Sometimes it's crunchy peanut butter, other times it's smooth. But it is essentially the same thing every day, and I like it. I look forward to it. It's habit. It's a behavior that I do over and over. It feels good, and I enjoy it. It checks all of my boxes. Okay? And this is not to say that you need to go and do the same. I'm not telling you to eat the same lunch for the next 4 years, okay? I recognize that may be a little much. But for me, I am most definitely a creature of habit, and I like routine. So this is easy for me. I like it. It tastes good. I enjoy it. And because of that, it's easy for me to keep this habit, and it works. So find what that is for you. It may not be eggs and broccoli and sriracha. It may not be a salad with dinner. It may not be a 15-minute morning workout. I have no idea what it is for you. I've given you a number of examples that have worked for both me and my clients, but this is where you get to get creative and think to yourself, what is the smallest behavior you can choose to put into practice today that will move the needle? Find it. I promise you, if you take the time to think of one thing, just one, and do it, you will see a change. Okay? All right. So now let's talk about troubleshooting. Let's talk through some of the things that come up when you consider choosing the smallest habit and getting really good at it. Because if it were that easy, you'd be doing it already. So let me help you with some common roadblocks that come up when I introduce this idea. And then let's talk about what to do with these roadblocks to make this concept easier for you. So first, the first thing that happens all the time is that you believe you have to go super big. So as an example, we'll talk through having a vegetable with dinner, and you'll tell me that is not enough. Never mind the fact that you haven't put a vegetable on your table in who knows how long. And this was absolutely the case for one of my clients, but never mind that, because you've convinced yourself that it cannot be as small as putting a veggie on the dinner table. It has to be low carb, no sugar, no chocolate, no more takeout, no wine, and it has to be bigger. And the same is true with exercise. You'll tell me that a 10 or 15-minute walk, after you've been sedentary for years, you'll tell me that is not enough. And you try to go from zero exercise to suddenly deciding that it has to be 45 minutes of sweat in order to count. Now, if you are able to pull that off, so that's what I call the 0 to 60 phenomenon, and if you're able to pull that off and sustain it, then by all means, fine. But for most of us, that is just not going to be sustainable. Going from zero exercise to 30 or even 45 minutes a day, that's a big leap. But when I suggest as little as 10 or 15 minutes to some of you, you balk. You tell me that it needs to be bigger. You'll decide that it has to be 5 days a week of exercise at this duration and at this intensity in order to count. But then you miss a day because that's life and things happen, and you make it mean you're a failure. And because you couldn't do it perfectly, you give up on yourself before you've established the habit. So then, along with deciding it has to be bigger, you've coupled that go big or go home reasoning with all or nothing thinking. And that combination, setting the bar way too high and being unrealistic, combined with all or nothing thinking, that combination is no good. It is just no good when it comes to changing your habits. Because here's what happens. When you impose all these big, hard rules on yourself and expect perfection from the outset, you rebel, you revolt. You set the bar so impossibly high that no person on earth could live up to it, and then you crack. And what's worse is that you then go beat yourself up about it. You get super down on yourself and super mean to yourself when you set all these unrealistic expectations that no one could uphold. And with all or nothing thinking, you make it mean you're a failure and you're never going to be able to change, and it becomes a downward spiral. So how many times has this happened for you? It happens all the time. I see it way too often. So please hear me when I say that small works. Small and sustainable is going to get you a whole lot farther along towards your weight loss goals than big and drastic and unsustainable. Don't fool yourself into thinking that it has to be big and sweeping and wild and drastic in order to count. I have seen you try to go big or go home over and over and over again, and it just doesn't work. Look back on your past attempts to change your habits. Have you tried to go big or go home? And if you did, how did that go? It may have worked for a minute, and then it got hard, and then it got really hard, and then you stopped. So if this has been your pattern, maybe try something different. Try something else. Choose one behavior. Make it small. Make it enjoyable. Make it sustainable. Try that instead of convincing yourself it has to be big. It does not have to be big. It just has to be doable. All right? And I've alluded to it already, but I'm going to spell it out here. The next thing that comes up is that you expect to get it perfect out the box. And that's just not going to happen. Okay? Even though we're talking small and we're aiming for you to choose a small behavior that is sustainable and repeatable, you're still going to mess up. Be ready for it, expect it, and know what you're going to do when you mess up. Expecting perfection from yourself, even when it's a tiny habit, is unrealistic. It's just unrealistic. So when you make the decision and commit, decide that whatever habit you choose is going to be small, sustainable, doable, and you will come back to it over and over again, even when you mess up. Even if you eat fries when you plan to eat a salad. Even if you sleep through your alarm instead of getting up for your 15-minute workout. Make the decision right now that once you decide what that habit is, you are in it for the long haul. And that's why I make such a big deal about ensuring that you choose something sustainable, something that you can do pretty much every day, because I want those mess ups and failures to be small and those habits to be small enough that you can come back to them even if you miss a day. Sometimes you choose something too hard and too big, and when you miss one day, it sets you off on a trail of, this is impossible, there's no way I can do this, I stink, and you go grab a bag of chips and say, forget it. Because it feels like a big task and a big mountain to climb to start over and do it again. So as an example, imagine what it would feel like to sleep through what you plan to be a 15-minute workout versus sleeping through what you plan to be a 45-minute workout. Which one is going to be easier to get back to? Or imagine you went big and cut out all carbs, all pizza, all wine, all chocolate. And then you have one weekend away and you had a food bender and you make it mean you are a failure. And to go back to your plan would be giving up all of those things all over again. But then contrast that to, I'm just going to make myself a salad to go with dinner. Which of those two strategies seems easier to get back to? Giving up all the food you love or making a salad? And the point again comes back to the same idea. When you're getting started, start small, okay? There are going to be failures along the way. Do you want them to feel like big failures or do you want them to feel like small failures? We want these blips in the road. We want these hiccups. We want them to be small because they are small, okay? They're small and they're inevitable. Expect them and learn from them and keep going back to your small behavior, okay? And then last, this is another big one. Let your smallest change, let it be enough. Okay? Let the smallest change that you make be enough. I see too many of you discounting or minimizing your efforts and making them insignificant, and that's not helping. I cannot stress enough that small progress is still progress. You can take the descriptor small out of the equation, really. Stop talking yourself down. Let your change be good enough because it is. And here's why I make such a big deal out of this. When you actually believe that your change is enough, that feels good. When you are kind to yourself and give yourself just a little bit of props or a little bit of acknowledgement for what you're doing, that feels good. And remember what I've said many, many times, success breeds success. So when you've practiced having a salad at dinner every night and you get really good at that, take that success and fuel another success. So for example, you decide that you can have fruit and Greek yogurt instead of a chocolate chip cookie as a snack and be just fine with it. And then you practice it. You practice having yogurt and fruit instead of cookies, all the while still having your salad at dinner. So do you see what we're doing? You're building layers. You're taking one habit that you've practiced and you've nailed, and then you're layering another habit on top of it. And then you repeat the process. You practice it, you repeat it over and over, all the while assessing whether it's something you can live with and have as a habit for the long haul. You let the mess ups happen, but you don't make a big deal out of it. And you keep going until you have the process nailed with fruit and yogurt as your snack. And then you layer on another habit. Let one success breed another. And you will only do that if you decide that your small changes are enough. If you're too busy looking for all the reasons that your salad at dinner is not enough of a change and it has to be bigger and wilder and more drastic, you're not going to be interested in focusing your attention on the next small thing you can work into your life because you're too busy ripping yourself up. So I'm asking for you to look for and find the reasons that your small change is enough and be specific, okay? So if you're wondering why bother, here's why bother. Remember that your words create your world and your world creates your words. So if you tell yourself and actually believe that your small habit is enough, that's the reality you will create in your world. That belief will be your filter. And then with that belief as your filter, you will go and find all the reasons in your life that your salad for dinner habit is enough. This fills me up. This keeps me from reaching for potato chips. This keeps me busy chewing for a while. I don't feel gross when I walk away from the dinner table. I can stick with this. It takes 10 minutes to chop a salad. It's just a salad. It's actually not that hard. I can make this my lifestyle. Give yourself all the reasons that what you're doing is enough. I promise you it will feel so much better than telling yourself all the reasons you're not measuring up. When you are so bold as to treat yourself with kindness, you will be willing to ask for more of yourself. And you know that you can count on yourself to deliver because you change best when you feel good. So choose the smallest habit. Make it something that you like, something that you can live with, and then you do that over and over again. Get really good at it and keep coming back to it, even when you fail. Acknowledge the small wins and use it to fuel more small wins. Layer one healthy habit on top of another, one at a time. Because you are not upending your life here. You are redesigning it and building a new lifestyle, one habit at a time. All right? And if you want help with this, let's talk. When you coach with me, we will find the smallest behaviors you can do over and over again, and I will help you make them habit. You'll practice finding the small wins, and you'll let those be enough, and you will feel better. Check out my website, head to www.carriehollandmd.com/contact, schedule a consultation, and let's talk about how coaching can change your life. All right? Thank you again for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you again next week. Hey, if you're looking for your next great read, I've got you covered. Head over to carriehollandmd.com/books and download my list of most favorite reads. I've got 2 collections waiting for you. One is all about work-life balance. The other is a collection of books that have changed my life. I've referenced many of these books in the podcast, and now you can access those titles all in one place. Again, that's carriehollandmd.com/books. Check it out and find your next great read. Thank you for listening to the Strong is a Mindset podcast. If you want to learn more about how to build both a strong mind and a strong body by eating, moving, and most importantly, thinking, check out carriehollandmd.com.